what you are and what I am. I ran down 11 flights with a pen in my hand today. Suddenly I stopped, you hear me? And in the middle of that office building, do you hear this?
Imagine the glow of a Manhattan sunset, where centuries-old brownstones meet glass towers reaching toward infinite skies. In this electric intersection of art, ambition, and identity, a young actor emerged, not with the manufactured shine of Hollywood formulas, but with raw vulnerability that stopped the world mid-scroll. This is the story of Timothée Chalamet, the bilingual kid from the Upper West Side who became cinema's most captivating voice, redefining masculinity, stardom, and what it means to live authentically in the spotlight. Today, we step beyond the red carpets and into the life of a generational talent who turned sensitivity into power, transformed indie darling status into global phenomenon, and proved that being unapologetically yourself is the ultimate act of rebellion. Early life and childhood. Long before the world knew his name, Timothée Chalamet was just another kid navigating the organized chaos of New York City. Born December 25, 1995, a Christmas baby whose arrival felt almost prophetic, he entered a home where creativity and curiosity were everyday rituals. His mother, Nicole Flender, brought a dancer's discipline and a Broadway performer's heart to the breakfast table. His father, Mark Chalamet, came home from work at UNICEF with stories that stretched beyond borders, reminding his children that the world was vast, complicated, and worthy of care. The Chalamet lineage is a tapestry: French roots on his father's side, Austrian Jewish heritage on his mother's. Family gatherings were a collage of languages and memories, where English and French intertwined and history was told as much in gestures as in words. Growing up in Hell's Kitchen meant learning to love the city's contradictions, the beauty and noise, the tenderness and grit. The daily symphony of horns, subway announcements, and distant music shaped his sense of rhythm and possibility. His sister, Pauline, was his first scene partner. In the living room, they staged impromptu performances, trading roles and inventing worlds. Afternoons in Central Park turned into people-watching sessions where they'd weave backstories for strangers, the retired ballerina feeding pigeons, the college kid practicing monologues by the Bethesda fountain, the couple arguing about a future neither was sure how to hold. Even as a child, Timothée wasn't just seeing, he was studying. Teachers noticed the way he listened, the way he understood subtext, the way he could articulate feelings other kids struggled to name. There's a particular kind of education New York gives to its children, the unspoken lessons absorbed on walks down Broadway, on local buses, under neon signs at midnight. Timothée soaked in those lessons. The city gave him 1,000 micro-stories a day, a delivery driver sharing a joke in passing, a saxophonist turning a corner into a stage, a stranger crying quietly on a train, and the silent chorus of empathy around them. Without knowing it, he was building a library of human moments, a reservoir he would draw from again and again. Even the cadence of family summers, the rhythm of holidays, and the ritual of movie nights became an informal curriculum. Films weren't just entertainment, they were anatomy lessons in feeling, how a scene breathes, how a glance changes meaning, how silence can swell louder than dialogue. Those evenings planted a conviction he would never shake, that art is a form of truth-telling, and truth, when handled with care, can change people. Education and early acting career. Adolescence brought clearer direction. At Fiorello H. LaGuardia High School of Music and Art and Performing Arts, the real-life fame school, he found his tribe. The halls were lined with ambition, classrooms pulsed with talent. It was a place where you were expected not only to be good, but to be honest in your craft, your voice, your willingness to be seen. He learned quickly that vulnerability wasn't a weakness to hide, but a tool to wield. Teachers remember a student who was relentlessly curious and exacting with himself. He wasn't there to coast. He rehearsed until scenes felt lived in, not performed. He studied his peers as closely as he studied the text, learning from their choices and refining his own. Summers at Interlochen Arts Camp deepened the commitment, days filled with rehearsals, movement classes, and instrument work, nights spent absorbing theater history and thinking about character, not as a mask, but as a doorway into empathy. College came next, first Columbia, where cultural anthropology sharpened his fascination with how people become who they are, then NYU's Gallatin School, where he crafted an individualized curriculum around performance, philosophy, and narrative. But classrooms can only hold you so long when the work begins calling. He started booking jobs. The early gigs, commercials, single-episode roles taught him to treat every frame like it matters, because it does. On Homeland, he found a rhythm with the camera, learning the alchemy of film acting, how the smallest internal adjustment can read like a confession in close-up. Those formative sets doubled as as apprenticeships. He watched directors solve problems in real time, learned how crews communicate without words, and discovered the quiet craftspeople who make movie magic possible: gaffers, script supervisors, editors who would later slice his work into rhythm and meaning. The lesson was humbling and galvanizing. Acting is only one part of a collective art form, and respect for that community makes the work better. Breakthrough and major roles. Then 2017 arrived with the force of a new season. Call Me By Your Name wasn't just a job, it was a transformation. As Elio Perlman, Timothée, found the seam between memory and desire and stitched a performance that felt like light moving across a lake. He learned Italian, practiced classical piano, and surrendered to the languor of a northern Italian summer, letting the place shape the boy. The scenes didn't feel acted, they felt overheard. The world took notice. Awards chatter swirled, but what mattered more was the shift in how audiences saw him, not as a promising newcomer, but as an artist with a singular ability to make interiority riveting. Choices followed, each one deliberate. Beautiful Boy showed the jagged edges of addiction without moralizing. He allowed himself to be uncontained on screen, fragile, fierce, ashamed, hopeful. In The King, he wore power like a garment that didn't yet fit, letting us see the cost of leadership settling across young shoulders. As Laurie in Little Women, he was both charming and deeply human, turning a familiar figure into a prism of yearning and regret. And then there was Dune. Epic in scope and intimate in focus, it demanded a lead who could carry a universe and a soul in the same breath. Timothée's Paul Atreides bridged prophecy and doubt, tenderness and danger. He learned to be still with intention, to let silence communicate as loudly as command. Dune Part 2 deepened that arc, the glow of destiny becoming something more complex, more unsettling. He proved that a blockbuster can hold nuance if the person at its center refuses to abandon it. Just as the narrative risked calcifying around a single idea of him, he pivoted. Wonka let him reintroduce play, song, dance, and elastic optimism anchored by quiet longing. It reminded audiences that joy too can be precise craft. A complete unknown brought transformation to a new pitch. The vowels, the gait, the exacting musicality of Bob Dylan's early persona, not as mimicry but as possession. By the time the accolades arrived, it felt less like validation than recognition of a simple truth. He keeps choosing the hard thing, and the hard thing keeps choosing him back. What these choices share is trust in directors with vision, in collaborators who challenge him, and in audiences who follow him from intimate confessionals to epic destinies. He's assembled a body of work that holds contradictions together and asks viewers to find themselves in the tension. The method behind the magic, working process, and preparation. If there's a key to his work, it's this: he refuses to shortcut the interior. Preparation is its own performance. For each role, he builds a private architecture, journals in character voice, playlists for emotional temperature, a patchwork of literature, art, and film that shapes the psychology. He interrogates the characters' contradictions, what they fear and want, what they hide and show, what they believe when alone. The page becomes a map, not a script. On set, he listens. It sounds simple, but it's rare to see a young actor so fully present in the space between lines. He isn't waiting to perform. He is experiencing, moment to moment, letting other actors change him. Directors describe a collaborator who arrives prepared but porous, committed but flexible, precise but alive to accident. There's no vanity in the work. The ego gets parked at the door so the character can breathe. Physical choices emerge from the inside out. A different walk for a new kind of weight. A different way of holding the jaw to carry tension. A changed breath to signal how quickly a thought lands. Skills come when needed. Instruments, dialects, combat training, movement coaching. But they never sit on the surface as tricks. They serve the spine of truth he's built in rehearsal and solitude. The emotional courage might be the rarest part. He grants access to the parts of himself that most people keep locked: grief, shame, wonder, hunger, and trust the camera to be kind. The best acting looks effortless because the labor happened long before action. His labor is invisible, but evident in what results. A sense that you're not watching choices, you're watching a person. There are rituals too, subtle ones that anchor the chaos of production. Quiet stretches before dawn call times, a passage of music that reopens a necessary feeling, a quick note to a director about a moment that needs space. He treats craft like a living thing, tended, questioned, sharpened, so that when the red light comes on, spontaneity has a place to land. Home and lifestyle. For all the marquee lights and flashing cameras, his private life tends toward the quiet and intentional. He spent years in a modest New York apartment that kept him tethered to the cadence of the city. A coffee run here, a bookstore visit there, the routine anonymity actors crave when the work ends. In recent years, he stepped into a Beverly Hills sanctuary valued around $11 million, tucked into the hills where Los Angeles begins to feel like sky and air. The house is modern but warm, glass and wood, stone and light. It's the kind of place that makes time feel slower, where morning sun writes gentle geometry across the floor. Inside, the palette is personal rather than performative. Vintage film posters keep company with framed photographs, moments with family, friends, and perhaps a few that never touch the internet. A piano anchors the main room for late-night playing when the day's noise needs dissolving. Books sit everywhere they can, on shelves, side tables, the arm of a chair. French poetry rubs shoulders with contemporary novels, film theory with philosophy. Scripts gather dog ears and margins packed with questions and arrows. The kitchen is sleek and functional. It's a space for curiosity as much as food. Cooking is a way to focus. The cut, the stir, the aroma, another ritual that forms a boundary between public and private selves. The primary suite opens to a terrace that feels like an exhale. There, a guitar often rests within reach, a habit that began as preparation and became meditation. A quiet home theater doubles as a classroom, classic films on rotation, sequences rewound, performances studied. A small gym space supports a body that's called upon to change shape for roles. Outside, a saltwater pool smooths the edges of long days, and native landscaping offers privacy without pretense. It's luxury, yes, but the intention is clear. A home is a place to recover your humanity. It's also a place for community, low-key dinners with close friends, script reads that unfold into long conversations, evenings under the stars where laughter outlasts plans. The house knows how to hold quiet and celebration with equal grace. In a life defined by public moments, this is where real time happens slowly and without performance. Personal style and transportation. On red carpets and magazine covers, Timothée treats clothing as conversation, part personal diary, part cultural commentary. He wears risk like it's comfortable, moving with ease through silhouettes that tilt toward the sculptural, fabrics that catch the light, and tailoring that plays with proportion. Custom looks from fashion houses sit beside vintage gems and youthful streetwear pieces, each outfit a small thesis on how men can dress when they're unafraid to be interesting. What makes the style land is the attitude, open, mischievous, unguarded. He doesn't armor himself in clothes, he animates them. One night it's sequins with a tender backless line, another, it's sharp metallic tailoring, then something soft and romantic that lets the air move through. The message is steady, masculinity contains multitudes, and the body can be a canvas for joy. Day to day he skews grounded, a band tee softened by years of wear, jeans with the right fade, sneakers that look like they've actually walked the city. Accessories are deliberate but unfussy, a chain, a ring, a hat that feels lived in rather than borrowed. The contrast with the spectacle of premieres isn't a contradiction, it's the spectrum. You can be both, the artist who loves costume and the person who wants to disappear into a hoodie and headphones. Transportation follows the same ethos, practical, consistent, unflashy. Bikes and subways in New York, a low-profile electric car in LA, chauffeured rides when the event requires it, no peacocking, no parade of supercars. The point isn't to pretend fame doesn't exist, it's to refuse the parts of fame that corrode your connection to the ordinary world that feeds your art.
Financial milestones and net worth. As of 2024, his estimated net worth hovers around $25 million, the result of choices that balanced art with strategy. The early indie projects traded dollars for credibility and a foundation that would pay dividends later. After an Oscar nomination, the market recalibrated. Major studio roles arrived with major studio paychecks. Prestige films kept the critical oxygen flowing. Franchise momentum and selective endorsements created a portfolio sturdy enough to support risk. What's striking is how consistent the through line remains. Control the work you can, protect the person you are, let the money follow. Partnerships with fashion houses reflect taste and alignment rather than a scattershot approach to branding. The investments around him appear measured and long view, more about stability than splash. Financial security isn't the point, what it buys matters more. The freedom to say no, the space to develop projects that take time, the ability to chase the strange and the new without wondering who will pay the rent. Deal-making these days often includes back-end participation, performance bonuses, and carefully negotiated schedules that preserve time for smaller, soul-feeding projects. Streaming's rise changed residuals. He and his team adapted, balancing prestige limited runs with theatrical releases that build cultural footprint. The outcome is a career as durable as it is dazzling. Philanthropy and activism. The spotlight can be a mirror or a megaphone. He chooses the latter when it counts. Climate concerns have been a steady drumbeat. Showing up, speaking up, pointing attention toward organizations doing real work, and supporting efforts that protect what's left and restore what can be saved. It isn't grandstanding, it's stewardship, a belief that influence must answer to consequence. He's been a consistent ally to LGBTQ communities, not just in words but in the work advocating for stories that honor complexity, supporting organizations that hold space for youth and mental health, and pressing for authenticity in representation. After the protests of 2020, he took the simplest, hardest action. He showed up, he listened, he helped. He has continued to support pipelines that diversify who gets to make art, who gets to be trained, and who gets to see themselves on a screen. Arts education is a particular focus. He knows how access changes trajectory. Scholarships, program support, attention to schools and organizations that lift talented students who lack resources. These are not headline-grabbing gestures, but they move lives. The pattern is consistent. Amplify, invest, return the ladder you climbed. He also understands the power of stepping back, letting others lead conversations they're closer to, and using his channels to redirect attention rather than absorb it. The activism reads as lived in, not staged. It's woven into his choices rather than appended as an afterthought. Personal life and relationships. The paradox of fame is that it makes people forget you're a person. Guardrails help. Early relationships lived mostly away from view, even as the world began to care more than it should. Later, with higher profile partners, privacy became harder, boundaries more necessary. The line between what's intimate and what's public grows thinner in the age of cameras everywhere. He redraws it constantly, choosing quiet over commentary. His relationship with Kylie Jenner brought speculation and fascination, the merging of two different celebrity ecosystems. Yet the people closest to them have pointed to a simple truth: shared experience creates understanding. Early fame, constant scrutiny, the challenge of staying whole when everyone thinks they know you. Low-key nights and careful public moments suggest a rhythm built on respect and space, anchored by the sanctuary of a home that can hold real life without an audience. Beyond romance, friendship remains ballast. He stays close to collaborators who know both the work and the toll. He returns to New York to reconnect with the people who knew him before the first big premiere, who see Timmy as a son, a brother, a friend, titles more enduring than star. Family remains a North Star. Parents and sister, extended relatives, the comfort of speaking French and feeling small in a room full of cousins and stories and laughter that cuts through the noise. He is candid about anxiety and the pressure that success breeds. That candor is part of his magnetism. The performance never overtakes the person. If anything, the person uncertain, learning, reaching, makes the performances possible. He's learned to let the rumor cycles pass like weather and return to the constants that make a life work that matters. People who tell the truth, rituals that keep the ground under your feet. Cultural impact and legacy in the making. There's a reason culture critics keep bringing his name up when they talk about a shift in leading men. He didn't invent vulnerability on screen, but he helped make it aspirational again. He wears softness without apology. He lets beauty be part of masculinity without fear. He opens the door for other actors who don't fit the old molds, and audiences walk through willingly because they recognize themselves more fully in this new arrangement of traits. The ripple effect shows up in the green lights, the films that might not have been financed 10 years ago, the characters whose interior lives are now allowed to be the plot, the wardrobes that move beyond the boxy suit into something more alive. He stands at a cultural convergence: cinema, fashion, music, and internet culture. The alchemy is that he refuses to treat any of those spheres as mere optics. He engages them as languages. You can feel the shift in small ways. Young men trying pearls for the first time, tailoring that allows softness and shape, conversations about mental health that treat tears as information rather than failure. The fandom around him skews creative, fan art, edits, essays, a sign that the work is sparking more work, which is the most flattering kind of influence. Looking ahead, future projects and endless possibility. He talks about the future as a verb, not a destination. There are sequels that promise darker turns, characters that will ask him to stretch in unfamiliar directions, collaborations with directors who have been dreaming on paper about what might be possible with him at the center. He's hinted at producing, at shepherding projects that need a champion to exist, at maybe directing one day when the story and the need align. Expect a pattern, oscillation between scale and intimacy, between the known quantity of a franchise and the risky bloom of something original. The game is not to stay comfortable, the game is to keep finding the edge. Awards will likely come. Box office will rise and fall and rise again. What endures is the commitment to surprise, to precision, to the version of art that leaves a mark on the inside of a viewer's life. There's also a world where he returns to the stage, where the immediacy of theater tests and renews him, perhaps a bilingual role that braids his identities, perhaps a musical that fuses the lightness of Wonka with the rigor of Dylan. The possibilities aren't theoretical, they're invitations waiting for the right season. From the brownstones of Manhattan to the canyons of Beverly Hills, from a classroom where vulnerability became a craft to sets where that craft becomes collective belief, Timothée Chalamet's story is a study in staying human while the world tries to turn you into a headline. He has shown that tenderness can be fierce, that beauty can be radical, that authenticity can be a strategy as much as a virtue. That $11 million sanctuary, sometimes shared with Kylie, sometimes animated by friends, sometimes quiet enough to hear your own breath, represents a simple, precious thing, a place to be a person. In a culture that confuses visibility with value, he keeps choosing the work that feels like truth, the choices that feel like growth, the life that feels like his. We're not just watching a star navigate an industry, we're watching an artist build a body of work that teaches us how to look, how to listen, how to feel, and we're watching a person insist, gently and consistently, on the right to remain whole. The best chapters haven't been written yet, that's the thrill. If this deep dive into his extraordinary world resonated with you, drop a comment telling us your favorite Timothée performance, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that inspire, fascinate, and reveal the human beings behind the icons.